lots of great music to play for you, as well as an interview feature, something new and different. I'll tell you more about that in just a minute. Support for KXCI is provided by Top Dead Center and The Hut, presenting Mike and Randy's 420 show on the outdoor stage at The Hut on 4th Avenue every Saturday at 4:20 p.m. Expect a wide variety of Grateful Dead, bluegrass, and folk music in a very relaxed setting. The Hut is at 305 North 4th Avenue. And support for KXCI is provided by the Wild Wild West Fest, a live music and arts festival, April 25th through the 27th at Harmony and Health Ranch, 20 minutes west of Tucson, off Highway 86. Performers include Haymarket Squares, Stanley Jordan, Melvin Seals and JGB, Mystic Roots Band, 8 Minutes to Burn, and more. A full lineup and complete festival information is available at azwildwildwestfest.com. And Tucson Samaritans present Which Way Home at the Loft Cinema on Wednesday, April 9th. The Oscar-nominated documentary follows unaccompanied children from Mexico and Central America on their dangerous journey north to reunite with family in the United States. A panel discussion follows the screening. Tickets at loftcinema.com and TucsonSamaritans.org. A public service message from your member-supported community radio, KXCI. And don't forget to join Kathy Rivers weekdays at 3 p.m. for the Home Stretch, an exciting way to end the day. The Home Stretch offers rock, pop, roots, and core artists old and new, plus interviews, in-studio performances, and more. The Home Stretch with Kathy Rivers weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m. on 91.3 FM. So, as I mentioned earlier, we've got a special feature for you tonight, an interview segment. I'm joined here in the studio by friend Jake. Say hello and introduce yourself.
This is Jake Feinberg, part of the Jake Feinberg Show, Jake Feinberg Family Networks, and Kevin, it's great to be here.
Well, welcome to Dead Air. You brought something special specifically for Dead Air tonight. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you brought in?
Well, yeah, no, and before I start, I just wanted to congratulate you and everybody involved with Dead Air here. You've been running the show here since 2001, and there are other cats like Jim Blackwood, who now does Your Morning Brew, and you guys have done a heck of a job continuing to promote the Grateful Dead, which is a band that we know how special it is, and it's not necessarily for everybody, but they were the truth. And I think that to come here tonight and be able to present my findings, it's pretty special.
Yeah, Dead Air has been a long time supporter of keeping Grateful Dead music alive, as well as jam bands of all sorts.
Also, I just want to say thank you for. I mean, I'm an obsessive early '80s junkie. I listened to basically 1983 Burlington 413, and you bring in. Literally 41383 Burlington I listen to all the time, and you bring in 33083 today. Warfield, I'm just honored.
I like playing anniversary shows, and you were telling me you've been really getting into the 83, so I figured that'd be perfect.
I never got out of it. Yeah, no. So I mean, I started my radio program on a defunct AM station. Back the day after Gabrielle Giffords was shot, actually.
Oh, wow. That's a significant date.
Yeah, it was. I didn't know how quite to start the show. I said, well, I'm going to start doing public policy, things that education, immigration. But after a few months, it got real stale. And I said, I need to seek something that's going to enliven me, and I can look back on whatever career I have and be proud of it. And so I started to go after, I'd say, jazzers, African musicians, all across the board, guys that would play jazz. And what I was going back to guys that were creating before I was born, and which was 1978. And so I wanted to get a little more authenticity, and I realized that within that there were these pockets of regional music within the country. At that time, regional radio was still very huge, like KXCI. I mean, you had, and as a result, before interconnection, you had different sounds. Chicago had their own sound. New York had their own sound. Boston, Miami. There was different soul scenes. You had all this cross-pollination going on. One of these scenes was the Bay Area. And so I went after jazzers, guys like Calvin Keyes and Michael Howell, and they wound up playing in the Fillmore district with Merle Saunders. Okay, these 6 a.m. jam sessions, these organ trio sessions when the pimps would come down with their women and 6 a.m. Okay, but yet all of a sudden I said, okay, so the Merle was involved with the jazz crew, and then I started looking deeper into it, and I realized that Jerry actually played with these guys too, quite a bit. He played with Vince Guaraldi. A lot of people don't know that, and so he was very active. And so while the Dead are known as a psychedelic rock band, mainly because they played through the acid tests, and because a lot of the audience was dosed as well, it's a disservice to just say that they were a psychedelic rock group, and especially Jerry's sound, which is an amalgamation of all genres. Mm-hmm. So that's what I brought in was this piece that I actually originally pitched it to Gans, but he didn't. He took it and then somewhat disingenuously actually backed away from it. So to me, a buddy of mine here in town, Oliver Ray, looked at me. He goes, "Dude, go local, man. What do you go local?" And so it to me, I am so honored to be able to present this early incantation of Garcia, his bluegrass leanings. All right, because he was a Bill Monroe freak, and he drove across the country, and in fact, wanted even to be in Bill Monroe's band. Along the way, at this time, talking like 63, 64, he met David Grisman, and I had an opportunity to interview a drummer, George Marsh, who's David's drummer currently in his sextet. He's got a few different bands, but he has a sextet, and George Marsh is his drummer. And I did a great interview with George, who's played with Denny Zeitlin, and who's played with Jerry Hahn, Brotherhood, Mike Finnegan. The list goes on and on and on. He's a stupendous player, but he hit me to David. And so I got in touch with Craig Miller, a beautiful man, David's manager, and on this AM station, we sat down in October of 2012 and talked about a myriad of things. David, his ventures into Earth Opera. I mean, we only covered about, maybe 10 years. But after an hour or so, we were both marinating and we were cooking, and we got into talking about Jerry. I didn't want to jump down, who wanted 10 minutes into an interview. I mean, I wanted to vet David's life.
Yeah, it's good to get them talking about everything they've done and let them lead the way into what you want to hear.
Thank you for reminding me why I did my radio show, because it's beyond the music. I'm not a musician. I love the music, but it's the musicians. So I wanted to get to them. I really wanted to get to them and get them to talk about, because it didn't happen in a vacuum, and it happened because of love, and it happened because of a lot of different stuff. And so my ability to get David to talk, but about an hour, 15, hour 20 in, we got cooking and started to go with, and we take this chronologically here, his first love was banjo, pedal steel, and bluegrass music, and Bill Monroe. So that's where Jerry Garcia started, and there's a lot of those influences in the Grateful Dead. But when he became part of the Grateful Dead, the bluegrass influences were a little bit more of a minor aspect of the music they made. So it's interesting to take a look at some of the other projects that Jerry was involved in, and look at some of his bluegrass roots. What I was going to say is that what's interesting is that David Grisman talks about. I think that one of the most interesting things is that the idea that Jerry might have tried out for Bill Monroe and didn't make it.
That's interesting.
So we'll hear it.
The world might have been very different if he had.
Very.
Well, shall we get into the interview segment?
It sounds great.
Let's do it. You are tuned in to Dead Air right here on 91.3 KXCI Tucson. This is Real People, Real Radio.
At the core, Jerry Garcia was a bluegrass picker. He was a legend of the California circuit back when Los Angeles was a hotbed of bluegrass activity in the mid-'60s. It was an infatuation with the father of bluegrass, Bill Monroe, and the Ash Grove fiddler, Scotty Stoneman, that led to this new breed of players who burned. As the great violinist Richard Green told me, we bowed at the feet of Monroe. He was our Jesus Christ. By March of 1974, the Great American Music Band was gigging and having fun. Here is a clip of my interview with David Dog Grisman about the first time he met Garcia. We'll pick it up with Sweet Georgia Brown.
Same note. Let's just run through it once. Let's just do it once. just like that. Beautiful. Yeah. Yes.
I love it too. That's classic. Where do you think?
Wow, that must be. I don't know who's. I never heard that before.
Yeah, good. This is why we do the show.
I know it's Bill Keith and Richard Green.
Well, that was Sweet Georgia Brown from a great American music band session from, I believe, March of '74. Garcia's on banjo.
No kidding.
Garcia's on banjo. I can get that.
Wow, I thought it was Bill Keith for sure.
No, and that Richard.
I thought it was great, but
no, it's incredible, and I love it. You guys are starting to noodle at the beginning, and Richard's like, "Let's just play it." You guys just burn it, and then.
Wait a minute, really?
Yeah, and then what Richard told me in the interview I did with him, he goes, he thought that was Garcia's best banjo solo he'd ever heard, which is interesting because you thought it was and that's the thing is like that.
That was the best banjo solo that Bill Keith ever played. It had more spunk than he normally might have.
Well, it makes sense. Because I just
did Richard have that?
That was foisted on me by Richard Green. Yes, so I have some more.
It's not released though, is it?
No.
Too much.
No, too much. And if you would, David, humor me and my generation into, all of us collected on Rounder Records, the classic Old and in the Way album, and
Round Records.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you. I have a white label promo, and
all ready to start a label called Roundest Records.
And I'm looking. I just picked up an album today on Rounder Records, Willow Avenue in Massachusetts. David Grisman Rounder album. So
okay, yeah, you just got that today.
I just got it today with.
I ought to feel that in about 20 years.
I don't have that queued up right now, but I wanted to ask you, how was it that Vassar in Old and in the Way? How did Vassar come into the picture?
Richard Green was playing some gigs with us at the time,
right.
And we were going to do a tour on the East Coast, their first and what turned out to be our only tour. And Richard, at the time, was putting together a band of his own, and he said he wouldn't have time to do that. It was Jerry Garcia. He had, all these, concert hall, good venues, good paying gig, and so we're thinking, who can we get, And Pete, I think he had Vassar's phone number. I don't think any of us had ever met Vassar Clemens. So we said, hey, and Jerry said, hey, call him up. Just hired the old boy.
That's right, because Richard was going off on, he was doing C-Train kind of stuff, and then...
This was after C-Train.
So he was, and so Vassar comes in, you guys never met him, but there was just immediately, it just kind of fell into place. What was the dynamic there? Because you and Peter and Jerry, John Kahn, you guys had known each other. So what was that like?
John Kahn, we had just met John Kahn, and I knew Jerry since 1964. Pete had never met Jerry. I took him up there because we all were living in Stinson Beach, California. Actually, I moved there first, and then Jerry bought a house there, and then Pete moved there. Wow. And I just said, hey, want to go up? Jerry loves to play bluegrass, So we, but, when you learn a form like bluegrass and you've been properly educated in it and have an ability with it, not that Old and in the Way was, was a little different but it was something we were in control of, We were in a good stage in all of our careers, and of course, Vassar was already a master. He had already made classic recordings of Bill Monroe and Jim and Jesse. He was one of the architects of that music. But music has got cumulative results. It's something that you can actually put 50 years into, and you'll get 50 years worth out of it, or 30 years worth, or 20 years worth. So at this point, we were at about the, 12-year mark or something.
Right. I like the way you look at it, though.
It was inspired. I mean, we put in a bunch of perspiration, and if you've been in Bill Monroe's Bluegrass Boys for 2 years, and were the lead singer with Bill Monroe, I mean, you're gonna sound good, we all, we just had a good, vibe going, We all kind of enjoyed doing what we were doing. Jerry was real, he's like a real positive type guy. Plus, he had real work. I mean, there was at a point where, $150 for a gig was a lot of money.
Absolutely.
And, I was playing, I would go down and play a night at Paul's Saloon for $19 with just some band down there. It wasn't unpleasant, making some, and also drawing a crowd. I mean, Garcia had this audience already, and, I mean, that's really what it takes to have a band, is a gig, and a good gig, and a good band. I mean, what more could you want? But we wanted more.
Of course, I often listen to some of the someone was cogent enough and smart enough to tape some of these recordings at the Family Dog and the Boarding House and places like that, and everybody got a nickname from Garcia. He gave you your nickname. Talk about going back to '64. The first time you met Jerry how that happened.
Well, it happened in the parking lot of Sunset Park, where it was at a Bill Monroe show, and the main thing was going to hear Bill Monroe, and Jerry was on a kind of cross-country pilgrimage that summer to hear bluegrass bands, and I heard that maybe he applied for the job with Bill Monroe and didn't get it, or at least wanted to do that. Anyhow, we, kind of connected and stayed in touch, and the following summer was when I, made that trip out to California for the first time, and we had a mutual friend named Eric Thompson, and he came out in the winter of '64 and to New York, and we started playing together. He's a guitar player, and in fact, we went down to the Union Grove Fiddlers Contest in April of '64 and won the band contest.
Wow.
And then '65, I decided to visit Eric and Jerry and all the musicians out in kind of the Berkeley, California, Palo Alto, the Bay Area.
And that's a nice little feature from David Grisman. So thank you for bringing that in.
What did you learn?
I learned that there's an awful lot of history there. I never knew that Jerry Garcia had applied to be part of Bill Monroe's band. I know bands, when they need new players, they have auditions and tryouts, and I guess Jerry Garcia just...
The other thing, it's funny, I was listening back to a friend of mine, Bill Fry, his interview with Sandy Rothman, who was also part of that acoustic scene in San Rafael, Palo Alto, and actually what he said was that that summer he was also going across the country and wound up staying in the South, but Jerry realized, it dawned on him that he actually had a baby at home. His daughter had been born, I think Heather was her name, and so I think he actually, even if he wanted that gig, he had to go home and be a dad for a while.
And that changes your life.
The thing is that and I thank you again for, this is just really the first part of his evolution, because what comes next is his transitions with Merle, through the eyes of Merle's son Tony, and Howard Wales from The Matrix, and then Ed Neumeister from the band Reconstruction, then finishing out with a guy that you mentioned, Melvin Seal. So, I mean, it was a long, strange trip for Garcia. He's with me on this journey, and yeah, just that was heady stuff.
Well, thanks for bringing that in. It was great to hear the thoughts and stories from David Grisman himself, and I hope to have you back again in the future to share more of this.
I'd love
this
to.
recording.
I would love to. Thank you.
So
the track that the drummer that introduced me to David, George Marsh, sent me this track today, Blue Yodel number 9.
We're gonna play here in just 1 second.
Right, and it was the last recording that Garcia made before he died, with David, John Kahn, and Jerry.
All right, so Blue Yodel number 9 right here on Dead Air 91.3 KXCI Tucson. Real people, real radio.
Standing on the corner I didn't mean no harm. Along come a police and took me by the arm. Says down in Memphis, corner Bill and Band. Said, hey big boy, you'll have to tell me your name. Oh, lay-o, lay. I said you'll find my name on the tail of my shirt. I'm a Tennessee hustler and I don't have to work. Listen, all you rounders, leave my woman alone. Take my special and run on you rounders. Oh, good gal love me, everybody knows. She paid $100 cash just to buy me a suit of clothes. She come to the joint, 44 in each hand. Get out of the way, all you women and men, 'cause I'm looking for my man. She said, oh, yeah.
You are tuned in to Dead Air on 91.3 KXCI Tucson. Real people, real radio. It's a minute and a half after 7 o'clock, and we just heard one of the final recordings that Jerry Garcia did before passing in 1995. That was a version of Blue Yodel No. 9, also sometimes known as Standing on the Corner. Support for KXCI is provided by Tucson Hullabaloo Community Festival in Armory Park on April 5th and 6th. Tucson Hullabaloo is a celebration of all things Tucson, affordable fun for families and funksters alike. Events include live music, giant puppets, a puppet show, a bike parade, costume contest, microbrews, local vendors, a huge kids area, circus performances, and more. Details and tickets can be found at TucsonHulla.com. Tucson Hullabaloo, April 5th and 6th in downtown's Armory Park, sponsored in part by KXCI. And join us for Anna Teixeira in concert Tuesday, April 1st at Maker House, 283 North Stone. Lead singer of Poe Girl, Anwa's new solo album combines a quirky take on roots and folk music with her Portuguese roots. This show is free for KXCI members, and we'll have a bunch of thank you gifts at the show so you can redeem your little orange cards. Non-members can buy tickets at the door for $5. Ana Teixeira, April 1st at Maker House, 7 p.m. show. Learn more on our events calendar at kxci.org. And the Body Love Conference is April 5th at the U of A Student Union. This event is an opportunity for women, those who identify as women, and their allies to come together and build community. There will be presentations and workshops on the history of the beauty myth, social concepts of aging, post-birth bodies, the beauty in disability, transgender body love, and more. Information is available at bodyloveconference.com. Public service message from your member-supported community radio, KXCI. And The Kids Are All Right airs this Thursday at 10 p.m. The Kids Are All Right features a collective of teens and young adults, many from our summer classes, sharing their taste in music, old and new, across a variety of genres. The Kids Are All Right this Thursday and every Thursday at 10 p.m. only on KXCI. So once again, I want to say thank you to Jake for coming down and sharing that special interview stuff and that very nice version of Blue Yodel number 9.
It was a pleasure to be here, and the interesting thing about that there's no real hard date on when that was performed. Sometime right before he passed away. George Marsh on drums, John Kahn on bass, and then David Grisman on mandolin and Garcia on acoustic. And that's the original composition was done by Louis Armstrong and Jimmy Rogers, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's an old song, goes way back.
Yeah,
I know I've got some recordings of Jerry in some of his bluegrass incarnations going back to the 60s where they have that song way back then. So it's great to hear a version from so much later, and it still sounds so authentic, even though Jerry sounds a little old, a little rough and ragged on some of those vocals, but the spirit and the soul is still there. That was magic. Thank you.
Well, thank you, my man, and keep it happening. I'll be back soon.
Yeah, so you are tuned in to Dead Air right here on 91.3 KXCI Tucson, and we're going to launch back into the music with some Old and in the Way. Line up with Jerry Garcia, John Kahn on bass, David Grisman on mandolin, Peter Rowan on guitar, Vassar Clements on fiddle. This is going back to a performance they did at Capitol Theater in Passaic, New Jersey, June 6th of 1973. You are tuned in to Dead Air. This is 91.3 KXCI Tucson.
Mescalito, he come breezing through town. I bet your woman's up in bed with old Panama Red. The judge don't know when Red's in town. He keeps well hidden underground. But everybody's acting lazy, falling out and hanging round. My woman said, hey Pedro, you acting crazy like a clown. Nobody feels like working. Panama Red is back in town. Panama Red, Panama Red, he'll steal your woman, then he'll rob your head. Panama Red, Panama Red, on his white horse Mescalito, he come breezing through town. I bet your woman's up in bed with a Panama Red. man's looking out for him, 'cause they know Red's satisfied. Little girls love to listen to him sing and tell sweet lies. But when things get too confusing, honey, we're better off in bed. And I'll be searching all the joints in town for a Panama Red. Panama Red, Panama Red. He'll steal your woman and he'll rob your head. Panama Red, Panama Red. On his white horse Mescalito, he come breezing through town. I bet your woman's up in bed with old Panama Red. Just because your heart has proved untrue. Hard-hearted, heartbreaker, dream stealer, love maker. Hard-hearted, heartbreaker, how many hearts have you broken today? Just like the one you told to me. Honey, someday you'll learn that the tide will have to turn. So just keep on breaking hearts and you will see. Hard-hearted, heartbreaker, dream stealer, love maker. Hard-hearted, heartbreaker, how many hearts have you broken today?
That tasty more. Pour that on the pour table. Yeah, and then sure. And then we do it. Sure. Yeah. The gospel. Yeah. Friends, it's time for some gospel tunes.
I'm working on a building, I'm working on a building. I'm working on a building. I'm working on a building for my Lord, for my Lord. It's a Holy Ghost building. It's a Holy Ghost building. It's a Holy Ghost building for my Lord, for my Lord.
I tell you what I would do. I'd quit my dealing and I'd work on a building too.
I'm working on a building. I'm working on a building. I'm working on a building for my Lord, for my Lord. It's a Holy Ghost building. It's a Holy Ghost building. It's a Holy Ghost building for my Lord, for my Lord. In the deep rolling hills of old Virginia, there's a place I love so well, where I spend many days of my childhood, in the cabin where we love to dwell. White dove with a morning sorrow, the willow will hang their head. I live my life in sorrow, since mother and daddy are dead. We were all so happy there together in our peaceful little mountain home. But the Savior needs angels up in heaven. Now they sing around the great white throne. White dove with morning sorrow, the willow will hang their head. I live my life in sorrow, since mother and daddy are dead.
hard day.
Well, I looked over Jordan and what did I see? Coming for to carry me home. But a band of angels coming after me. Coming for to carry me. Now sing it. Swing low, sweet chariot. Coming for to carry me home. Swing low. Sweet chariot, coming for to carry me. Well, if you get there before I do, coming for to carry me home. Tell all of our friends that I'm coming too. Coming for to carry me home. Everybody sing now.